Aaron Lewis from Liberty Norfleet here with Tommy Lepore here from Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for another edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Finishing up, or we are finished fall season. Looking toward the new season. Don't miss in December. We got some great stuff coming up with Dave Penning. If you missed the episode in November about what's new with Game 7 Baseball, go back and check it out on YBMcast. You won't want to miss it. Dave and Dave getting it done every year for Game 7 Baseball. And today on Prep Baseball Talk, I've got two guests with us today. As always, we have our PBR guru, Mr. Kevin Mulder. Kevin, how you doing, buddy?
Doing great, Brian. How are you?
Fantastic, and I look good as well, bro.
Absolutely.
And our special guest today, as we're talking some prep baseball, is Dave Wiggins. He is the head coach at Webster Groves High School. You probably also know him from, we've had him on the show talking from Recruits Baseball down in South County. Dave Wiggins, how you doing, man?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on.
As always, bud. Appreciate you coming because we've got some pretty interesting stuff. We're going to take a look at the St. Louis Suburban Conference, and in particular, we're going to look at the Red Pool today and talk about some of the schools there. But first, as always, I like to drop some love to some guys on from the social site. Caden Griffiths from GBA committed. Now, Kevin, you're going to have to help me because I don't know that I've seen the Hawks. I don't know if I don't know what college this is. Sometimes, man, it'd be nice if they put some stuff up there that showed. I don't know who the Hawks are. Does anybody?
Could it be?
Well, there's a lot of Hawks.
State Fair.
State Fair.
Might be State Fair Community College.
Blue and gold.
They're the Road Runners.
They're the Road Runners. You're right.
Caden Griffiths. Hold on.
What's the kid's name?
I'll get to the bottom of this, Brian. Give me a minute.
Okay. Cole Funkhauser is it's Caden Griffiths and Cole Funkhauser on their commitments to play to the next level. Exciting futures ahead. Caden Griffiths there, and then Cole Funkhauser is committed to UCM, going to play for the Mules.
Central Missouri, yeah.
It's a big one. I love that stuff, man. So that's I knew I would find out. I meant to look earlier. Pardon me, guys. Any?
Well, I'll add another one in for you. GAC guy, because I know we like to talk about that a lot. Bryson Naputi committed to San Jack Community College in Texas, one of the elite junior colleges in the country. So congrats to Bryson, and obviously, really good senior in that in this high school class in Missouri.
Absolutely. And from what I understand, San Jack is one of those elite JC programs.
Yeah, actually had a first rounder from St. Louis a couple of years ago. Jackson Rutledge out of Rockwood Summit. Started off at Arkansas, but they've had a couple St. Louis guys, and he'll continue on the tradition down there.
Here's another big one I thought, and this goes to, Kevin, what we've talked about out of Camdenton High School. Cam Durnan signing with Wichita State. Big time there.
Yes.
Go ahead.
We've talked about them before on the show. He has two other brothers. They were all on the varsity infield together at second base, shortstop, and third base. So pretty cool deal. But, yeah, Cam's one of the better shortstops in the state at that class, and, heading to Wichita State.
Great facilities. I've hung out. I've got 3 signed baseballs from Coach Stevenson and the crew back in the early 2000s when I was working there in Wichita. Great facilities. Love Tyler Field, man. That's a fun ballpark to go watch baseball in. Also,
big time baseball.
It is, man. Aiden Klein, Yard Baseball Club out of Pleasant Hill, going committed to UMSL with the new coach Scott Ewell there. So big ups to them coming from the other side of the state. That's pretty good right there. I like that. Keeping it
UMSL's
inside.
getting after it a little bit, Coach Wiggins. They are they're getting out and signing some guys. So good for them. I want, we need more. Just another great option for our kids in the state and our area, and that's always a good thing when you get a new coaching staff and they start kind of attacking things in an aggressive manner. That's good for everyone, in my opinion.
I agree. They've been pretty active on social media as well, which is always good.
We are hoping. I've been in communication with Coach Ewell. In fact, was talking to him a little bit yesterday, just via email, hoping to get him on before Thanksgiving, or it might even air after we get something set up to talk to him, coming down, talking about the program and what they're doing, because they are getting out, they're making some noise, so that's hopefully we'll get Coach Ewell on the show. One last shout out here, love to see this. Our good buddy over at Francis House Central, Scott Harris. Started us off with the GAC Game of the Week there, is the St. Louis Athletic Director of the Year.
That's awesome. Congratulations, Scott.
That's big. I love that, man. That was huge.
Absolutely.
I saw that. I was like, congrats. So there's some social shout outs for today as we get into our program here. Wanted to give some love to those guys. Before we get into our programming today. Coach Wiggins, Webster Groves High School, you guys finished 13-19 last year. You're class 5. You've got 10 seniors coming back this year. How you feeling about your squad, man?
I feel pretty good. I would say that this year, more than I've followed the baseball program even before I was coaching there. I'd say that this year, depth-wise, and we may be as deep as we've ever been for as long as I can remember. Just have a great senior class, 3 pitchers who have varsity experience who should be able to anchor that staff as seniors, a number of junior arms that could come up and contribute right away. Offensively, I think we'll be better this year. We're missing our key bat in Kyle Megger, but we were missing him most of the year last year due to an injury anyway. William Zara, our Division I most state commit, he's an excellent bat at the top of our order, and he just needs some protection around him. And from what I've seen from just the numerous kids that are in the facility, out of the facility, in other facilities, and it's kind of the different social media posts. It looks like they're going to swing the bats pretty well this offseason and get ready for a pretty competitive spring at the Class 5 level.
Kevin, your thoughts?
Coach, I got a quick one for you. You obviously got one of the better seniors in the area on your ball club, as you mentioned, William Zahir. He's going down to Missouri State as a catcher. Williams obviously a really, really good athlete and can do a lot of different things on a baseball field, especially from a defensive standpoint. He's a really strong catcher, yet he can play shortstop, and I'm sure he can play field. What is he going to do for you, and do you factor in, hey, what this kid's doing long term versus the needs for your high school program? Because obviously you see that every year. Hey, a kid might be playing shortstop, even though he's not going to play shortstop at the next level. He might actually be a third baseman or even a first baseman or a left fielder. Going back to my college coaching days, I mean, it was remarkable how many positional players we had that played high school shortstop. Can you just talk about, A, William, because he is a special player, and then B, just the thought process and kind of the stuff that you have to go through to put your best team in, or your team in the best position to win baseball games?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. William could easily play the left side of our infield pretty consistently, but he's a game changer behind the plate. You're talking about a mid upper 80s arm from behind the plate, not just throwing runners out who are trying to steal second and third, but throwing behind runners. He's fantastic at when we call design back picks. He calls them on his own. So we can steal outs that way with having a weapon like that behind the dish. And one of the biggest things that I really respect is my assistant and I. We like to call our games just so we have a real good plan of attack for what we want to do. We scout ahead of time so we know how we want to attack hitters. And William came to us last year and said, after committing to Missouri State, they told me that their catchers call their own games, and they want me to start preparing for that as well. So we had a nice conversation, and we started letting him call a decent amount of games himself over the spring, and he did a really good job. We kind of worked together on that, and just having his baseball smarts behind the dish, having his experience, handling varsity pitching for the last 3 years, and just the absolute cannon of an arm from behind the dish is it's hard to put him anywhere else. And we have a couple really good catchers in our program that will see time behind the plate. We'll let William DH here or there. We'll throw him at third base or shortstop on occasion. But Missouri State, they want him to catch. We want him to catch. And I think that's where he best fits. And as versatile as he is, I think the bat's going to play. Maybe in a few years we see him playing left field for a for a professional team. But I think he's going to be an outstanding catcher at the Division I level and hopefully beyond that. And to further that question about what position, do we see, and it happens in the summer, right? You have a shortstop who plays shortstop for his high school, but he plays center field for his summer team because there's two other impact shortstops that play shortstop on that team. We've got to look at the right now, and we've got to see how can we be successful as a varsity team and what puts us in the best position to win games at the varsity level. So when we're deciding who should play where on JV or freshman, we take that into account. Even if we have a kid who's the best shortstop on the JV team, if he's going to play outfield at the varsity level, we need to make sure he's playing outfield at the JV level, just to make sure that we have the best possible varsity squad, roster, and construction that we can have.
Yeah, that's a great point and interesting. And two things to that. You talked about letting William call his own game. I'm guessing that means that, that's even actually probably more work for you and your coaching staff because you're still having to do the same preparation, but you're also having to give that information to William because I'm assuming he's not out there scouting the opponents, which is why most high school coaches end up calling their game is,
right.
Their players aren't given scouting reports most of the time. And so that's a credit to you and your staff that you guys are able to prepare your player that way. One
Thank
other
you.
quick follow-up on that I'm sure is, one of the bigger challenges for a varsity coach. You have to weigh in development as well. What works for developing these young players? I'm sure you have sophomores. Talk to us a little bit about maybe getting one of those young guys. Is it better to have him on the varsity to gain experience, but maybe doesn't get full playing time, or do you look to leave that kid on a sophomore team where he's getting, be the guy, the center of attention, playing every single game? How do you balance that out from a development standpoint versus, he'd probably be the 11th best positional player, so we're slightly stronger, but maybe stunting that player's development a little bit?
Yeah, that's another great question, and different coaches have different philosophies on that. My belief is if I have a freshman or a sophomore who I think can compete at the varsity level, I need to make sure they're getting opportunities at the varsity level. Otherwise, just having them up for quote-unquote experience and being in the dugout, it's not enough for me. They need to see varsity pitching. They need to see varsity hitters. They need to see what it's like to play defense at the varsity level. So if I have a player that I think can play at that level who's younger, I make sure they play. And I need to see right away if they can play at that level, if they can hang at that level. Sometimes we need to move them back down to JV for a little bit, and we'll usually call them back up a little bit later. and just see kind of how, how that development happened where, they may be hitting over 500 on JV. They come up to varsity, they struggle a little bit. You send them back down to JV to get a little bit more confidence. Then you bring them right back up to varsity, give them a couple more at bats. But I don't think that it's nearly as productive to have a young man who could be getting upwards of 100 at bats at the freshman or JV level, pull them up on varsity, take away their ABs, take away their playing time, just so they can have experience sitting on a bench with juniors and seniors.
Right.
The experience comes from playing the baseball game. And as you guys know, you cannot substitute varsity pitching. There's nothing like it. Freshman pitching, JV pitching do not hold a candle to what these hitters see at the varsity level. They just don't, especially what we see. We may be class 5, but we play a lot of class 6 schools. We see a lot of schools 1s and 2s, and the jump from JV to varsity is so big. We have to make sure if we have a young man who we think is going to be a 3-year or, a 2.5-year varsity player, that we get him up ASAP and get him that experience. And I ask those boys to seek out really good competition in the summer too. My 16s, my incoming sophomores that play varsity, I ask them to try to play 17, 18U in the summer if they can, just so they're consistently seeing those older arms, more experienced arms who can land their off speed early for strikes, ones who can throw the 2-0 change ups and also come at you with 85 plus. So they need to play.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, that was great stuff. Comment below. We'd love to hear what you have to say about what that question there. That's great information. I love that topic. That's beautiful. Comment below. Tell us a little bit about what you see. And to his point, we're looking at the red pool in the St. Louis Suburban Conference here, guys. And I'm going to run down this list, and we'll talk a little bit about some of these teams. You've got Hazelwood West, Ladue Horton, Northwest High School, Oakville High School, Parkway Central, Parkway South, and a new one this year. And I want to give a shout out here to Coach Wiggins. I sent an email to him because it was a struggle to find this conference information. It really was. And he really helped me, and it's made a big difference in putting some of this together because there's 4 pools in this Suburban Conference, and Seckman was added to the red pool this year. So that puts it at, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 Class 6 teams in this, along with Ladue is a Class 5 and Webster Groves is a Class 5 school. So, as he said, you're seeing a lot of big-time arms, and especially, Parkway Central. Oh, I'm sorry, Parkway Central's Class 5 as well. So there's 3 and 5. My fault. But you're seeing some big arms. Kevin knows this. He's talked a lot about Parkway Central. You saw a lot of big arms on that Central team, and we saw them last year. So, my goodness, this is going to be a difficult conference. And how many games do you play during the week, conference play, Dave?
So the red pool's different, and I've been trying to push for a home and home to where we get to play each other twice in a week, so you can't throw your one at the same school twice. But we usually just play 1, maybe 2 a week, and there's not a whole lot of structure to our conference and when we play them, how we play them. I'm very envious of the yellow pool because they get to do basically the 2-game series against each other. But I don't think that a lot of the schools in my pool want to do that. So I'm just kind of the outlier there.
Yeah, I agree with you, Coach. The GAC does this, and I like this. And you can pick your day of the week, but let's get 2 games in, maybe Tuesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, whatever it is. But then that's a fair fight. You don't want to face a team twice. But hey, maybe you play a team X on Monday, and then you're playing team Y on Wednesday, and then you get into that. Well, did they throw their number 1, save their number 1, and it's kind of kind of seems to me like a more fair fight or straight shot if you match each team up with the home and home. Hey, I'll be at your place on Tuesday. You're at mine on Thursday, and it gives you a better indication of who the best ball club is, as opposed to kind of trying to piece puzzle pieces together to line up pitching and kind of a
right. Well, I mean, essentially conference is a league. yeah, conference is a league, and it gives you more of a league feel. Like I only play a lot of those schools one time, so I'm playing schools in my conference once, right? I know Eureka's going to play Lafayette twice. I know
Yeah.
how that. So I don't know. I may be complaining a little bit about my conference, but
It, and I'm thinking about this just out loud. Like, there's some really good teams. This is no doubt a nice step up in competition for you guys. Like Ladue has Will Moore heading to Purdue. I don't know if they have a ton else behind that. If you happen to catch him on that day, that's a really tough ball game. If you happen to miss him, you might like your chances a little more. Parkway South is obviously a really strong team. They have junior Brady Kellenbrink just committed to LSU. Now they have depth behind that. Eddie Ahern is a really nice piece. They're a good team, but it does strike me as a little interesting that that's how the schedule plays out.
And
yeah, it's interesting. To me, it doesn't feel like a conference or a league really. And I know that since I've been like I played at Webster and we were the Suburban South Conference and everything was a little different. We played schools in our league multiple times, and teams sometimes really don't even take a whole lot of they don't put a whole lot of weight on conference games anymore because they don't have anything to do with the playoffs. You want to make sure you win your district, and a conference championship isn't what it used to be. But if I was in that gold pool and I was playing teams twice, each week, I'd put a lot of pride in taking that down. So those are my thoughts on it.
well, and I think that's a great point
Absolutely.
because I think that's up to the schools in the conference to make that something, and I think this is what the GAC does. They have you have first, second team all conference. That kind of sets that. Yes, I know at the end of the day, there's no real conference championship. I get those things, but winning your conference, and I think it sets goals as anything as we're trying to teach young people. I think that's the best thing. Okay, what's your first goal? Well, let's win conference. Second goal, let's win district. Third goal, let's get to the Final Four and then see where we get. I think those are things that need to be part of the program so that you're teaching kids how to set goals to achieve goals. It isn't just about playing the game, but lessons in life and how you set yourself in motion to be successful. And when you don't have that, I think that becomes a very difficult proposition. As okay, so we're playing those guys. Big fat hairy deal. What does it matter? It's just another
Right.
game. And are we beating? How are we getting seeding in districts? Well, that's a whole nother thing. Well, I think those are things that to me are very interesting. And one of the reasons why I think the JAC is unique in that respect is, and then you have certain other conferences. That's why we started looking at this, and that's why I started looking at this and at the high school level. What is the reason for the conferences, and why are we doing this if it's not setting those things in motion? Thoughts?
Sure. Oh, 100% agree. These are student athletes. We're trying to give them lessons for not just on the field but off the field as well. How to be a successful individual, not how to be a successful baseball player, and having more structure and having a set goal. Our team goal last year was to win districts. Our team goal this year is to win districts. And you need to kind of have stepping stones there. Once we win that district title, then it goes from there. But just being able to set realistic expectations and have a little bit more organization to it, I think definitely helps.
Coach, I got a quick question for you. You're
Let's
talking
go.
about winning districts and looking at your schedule and just following you guys over the past couple of years. You always seem to play a really quality schedule. Do you feel like that's what prepares you best for winning districts as opposed to, there's multiple different ways to do it. Some teams maybe try to run up a big win loss record. You clearly are in the camp of challenging your team and figuring out what you have. Is that kind of your approach? And what do you think are the benefits of that for your ball club?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, especially considering this year I switched gears a little bit. We played a heavy Class 6 schedule last year, We took down some really good Class 6 schools. Our record wasn't nearly as good as some of the other teams in our district. And, I felt as though we should have been the 1 seed given our strength of schedule. But we had schools in our district who simply looked at record, didn't look at our opponents, didn't really even know who our opponents were. And I felt like it kind of hindered us in getting the seed that I thought we deserved. And it led us to having to face a Division I arm in the conference semifinal game. And that was tough.
I remember that game. I was there. That was one of the best pitching matches in all of St. Louis for the year. Colin Maloney versus Joe Rosiska, two 90-mile-per-hour arms, both going to D1 schools, and that was a heck of a matchup. Fun for my shoes, and really probably not so much for yours.
Coach Clifton over there is having a blast watching Maloney carve us. But it was. He's tough, man. His combination, his fastball slider it's next level, and Rosiska, matched him pitch for pitch. It just came down to Colin threw 30 fewer pitches than Joe did. We had to get Joe out of there. But it's one of those deals where I feel as though if I can play really good Class 5 schools, and I can sprinkle in some Class 6 schools, I'm still going to play at Lindbergh. I have a great relationship with Coach Scott over there. I can't wait to get on his new turf field. And he owes us because we beat him twice last year. We're wanting to put ourselves in a little bit better position record-wise this year, so we can lobby for that 1 seed in our district, so we can get that first round bye. And I feel that with the depth that we have, the level of talent we have from some of our freshmen, even our sophomores up to seniors that'll be on the varsity team, I think that a 600 to 650 record is attainable. And that's playing a few more Class 5 schools, eliminating a couple of the Class 6 schools, but still not being in a position where, in districts, every spade, they were a solid school, but arms-wise, until we saw Maloney, we really didn't see anything that we hadn't seen routinely because of the heavy Class 6 schedule. So it's going to be a little dangerous, and we'll see how it goes.
I think one thing. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead because I got to follow up after you go.
Well, we go back to the conference stuff. You got to deal with Melville there, which had a really good season. But I'm looking just here. I'm going to go back to this because I'm sorry I can't help this. Where my mind goes. You're talking about conference play, and if you're talking about those things, you guys got Ladue, which was in your district last year. They've got 8 seniors coming back, and I want to go back through this where you've got 10 seniors coming back. Those are it's just you two in that one district. In how do we, if we're talking about conference play and it making an impact, how are we dealing with that? And how are the schools maybe talking to Misha about trying to set certain things in place in this way to where those things can kind of measure up? Is that even a possibility or even a factor that could even happen?
I don't quite understand the question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I think he's trying to say, I think it's probably near impossible to line up each district across the state probably. But I think he's alluding to some districts are kind of a little more full versus others might be a touch softer.
No, that's not. No, I'm alluding to you've got 5 Class 6 schools, right? In your conference. Okay, this is a good conference.
I got you.
I don't think we have that many, do we?
Yeah, you do. You've got
so we have Hazelwood, West, Seckman,
Northwest,
I think that's
Oakville. No, in your conference, you've got Hazelwood West, Northwest High School, Oakville, Parkway South, and Seckman are all Class 6 schools, and you have 3 Class 5.
Okay.
And you've got Ladue is the only school in your conference that's in your district. And we were talking about that earlier.
Gotcha.
I know this kind of comes back. This is where my mind goes to. I look at different things because it's curious to me. We kind of have baseball in this way, but then you, like you said earlier, and this is what drove me to this. I started looking at this. You had one school in your district that's in your conference. Is there a way to maybe take a look at these things and go, well, how can we reset this a little bit?
There absolutely is, and that's why they went to this colored tier. You essentially, at the end of the year, you can decide if you want to stay where you are, move down, move up. So you go yellow, red, green, blue. So if you look at the yellow schools, those are the schools that, by consensus, are the more talented or the better baseball schools. And then the red pools, kind of the tier below, and then green and then blue. And the school that moved up from green to red was Seckman, and Seckman was one of the better Class 6 schools in the area last year. So I thought it was great that they moved up, and I think you can make a case for them being in yellow, but I don't think they wanted to go up 2 levels. And you had Parkway North, who's in a rebuild. They decided to go down. So yes, the way to restore that competitive balance. That's why they came up with this tiering system instead of going regionally or going by location. It really does allow you to try to have as competitive a conference as you can have. So now I understand your question. Sorry about that.
Well, and 2, this goes back to the district. You guys were in District 2. Ladue is part of the St. Louis Suburban. Clayton's part of St. Louis Suburban. You guys and Melville. The other 2 schools in the district are St. Mary, St. Louis, and Roosevelt Carnahan, which they're not in the St. Louis Suburban Conference at all, correct?
Right.
And that's where I'm thinking, how do you get with Misha? How do you is there something there that can be done that makes conference baseball and league baseball in that respect something that is you play towards and play for? This is my thought process to this. I know I'm going way over here, but that's what I do. That's where my mind goes with a lot of this stuff.
Sense. You make sense. It just goes to what I said earlier. I would feel way more with our conference and want to win our conference if I knew that I was playing each team twice, if I knew it was kind of a league setting. That's where I think the yellow pool does a great job. The GAC does a great job. Our red pool, we may play each other once. We may be in the same conference, but I don't have, I'm just saying it plainly, we don't have a whole huge sense of pride of winning the red pool conference. It's just a number of games played and the best record at the end wins. It just doesn't feel like a battle it out league to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Kevin, your thoughts on that, man?
Yeah, no, I agree with Coach on that. A couple of things I wanted to touch on or ask. You have one of my favorite games, and we talked about what a strong schedule you do. I think you have one of the more fun nights of the spring as well. You play your crosstown rival, Kirkwood, over at Baldwin Athletic. Is that back on the schedule? And just want to make a comment. I love the creativity on that you guys take that to a neutral field, obviously, long storied rivalry. Is that going to continue to be off campus and, moving forward?
Without a doubt. And I think that it's great that you can do it at Baldwin. You can do it under the lights. You can do it at a neutral site that's not too far from Kirkwood or Webster. You get a great fan experience there. The concession stands are rocking. You got the press box. You got the announcer. It's a really close. It's about as close as you can get to like a Friday night college game. And you want to put those kids in those experiences when you get a chance. And it's really cool because our JV teams get to play right before, and then we play after. So the varsity guys show up a little early. They cheer the JV guys on. When the JV guys are done, they come out of the dugout. They sit there. They eat a hot dog. They have a soda. They watch the game. It's just a real kind of overall awesome experience for both schools to battle it out, continue the rivalry, and keep it as family friendly as you can.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to see, and having watched a lot of high school baseball across the country, there are some other parts of the country, especially towards the south, that I feel like do a really good job with having games with that type of atmosphere. And a lot of credit to Webster and Kirkwood for putting that game on in that manner, because I think St. Louis and Missouri baseball needs more marquee games like that in that type of environment. It makes it more fun for everybody. The kids, it's a fun deal you guys do for the kids and to create that type of atmosphere.
Absolutely. And, to kind of go along with that, and, let's compare that to a conference opponent, right? So, Kirkwood, if you go to Webster Groves, no matter what sport you're playing, you want to beat Kirkwood. So, my number one, Rosiska last year shot me a text in July. Hey, can I throw the Kirkwood game? He didn't ask me if he could throw a conference game. He said, hey, can I throw the Kirkwood game? And
I'm sure your kids get up more for that game than they do a conference game. Am I right?
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt they do.
Yeah.
It actually worked out to where we couldn't throw JoJo that game. I really wanted to. But it's one of those deals where that's what those seniors are looking forward to. They want that one more than any. And it's always a tight game.
Yeah.
No matter how good both teams are, it's always a dogfight.
That's amazing.
That's awesome.
You're a Kirkwood grad, aren't you, Kevin?
Yes.
There you go.
Hey, it's a friendly rivalry, but I do appreciate that they have done that. One thing that I am excited about for my Pioneers, Coach Wiggins, I hope I'm not spoiling anything here. I know we got a big renovation coming to your field coming up with field turf being installed. Will you talk about just the significance of that impact for your program and what that's going to do for you guys?
Absolutely. And when I got the job, we had your typical, very low level high school infrastructure for our field. And we have a really cool little spot where our field sits right behind our school. We have a big green monster that's about 30 feet high. It's a very unique park. And I've had just an amazing group of parents and our community members raise a whole lot of money to help renovate kind of the infrastructure. We have a brand new backstop that we got installed last year, brick backstop with netting, brand new dugouts that are brick. Our right field fence looks like it's from the 1960s. You've got these cool advertisements all over the right field fence. It's a really unique little park, and the icing on the cake is turfing that bad boy. And very, very fortunate. The city of Webster Groves passed a non-tax increase bond to infuse about $40 million of money into a lot of different Webster Groves buildings, stadiums, infrastructures. The football field's getting a brand new redo. It's going to be all turf. I think the stadium itself is going to be new. Those of you who've been to Moss Field, it's really cool. It's historic, but it's old, and it's a safety hazard. So it's great that they're renovating that. And then they're going to take our baseball, softball field. They're going to make it essentially a multi-purpose, all-turf, infield, outfield, where our field hockey team can practice on it. In the fall, soccer team can get on it. It's just great having turf. There's not much wear and tear. It's been rough because our field hockey team doesn't have a place to practice, so they practice in right and center field right now. And we got new grass 2 years ago, and it's hard for us to maintain the quality and the smoothness of the grass when field hockey is being played in right field. So it's outstanding that the whole thing's going to be turf. Had numerous conversations with Coach Brian Gibson, the softball coach at Webster. We work great together. He was actually my freshman baseball coach at Webster. We're going to work together best we can to make that field feel like home to both the boys and girls. But it's going to be sweet. And just the level of practice that we can run there, not having to worry about rainouts, not having to worry about getting the field ready beforehand, which takes a good 30 minutes to an hour sometimes. The cleanup at the end, you can literally spend every moment of practice, every moment of your time out there getting better at baseball. And it makes it easier for our freshmen. Have it rough right now. We have one field, so JV varsity usually will practice together, and the freshmen get sequestered to the softball field and the cages. Now the freshmen can work on infield and left field. They can work on infield and right field. Having turf is an absolute game changer. It's something that my staff and I and a lot of the parents have always wanted, and I did not think we were going to get it this quickly. So I'm thrilled.
I'm sure that's going to be a great thing for the development of your players. And, Midwest baseball, we're all playing on the same level there, whether you're high school, college, Little League, whatever. And I'm sure that's going to be a great asset to your program. And we've talked about it multiple times on this show. Just feel like no matter the area, the city we're talking about, but if one school does it, it's going to push Kirkwood. If Webster does it, then Kirkwood's going to feel like it. Lindbergh obviously just did it. That's going to push other schools in their district. We've related it to the Howells or the Winsvilles, the Zumwalts. One of those schools does it. The rest are all going to follow, and ultimately, selfishly, that's going to raise the level of play throughout the area. So I'm excited for you and your program, and hopefully others around you quickly.
Yeah, because
we're very excited.
We talked about that. Troy Buchanan is putting field turf on the baseball field. They just got a bond issue for it. So you're seeing that. I mean, that's in the city. That's out there. The more of these teams start doing these, it definitely. And if, like you said, if the rivalry is there and Kirkwood looks over and you guys got turf, of course we got to have turf, man. We can't let you guys one-up us. That's just the way it works.
No, yeah,
right?
Kirkwood's always going to have one up on Webster. I can promise you, Brian.
Oh, mercy.
No comment.
Oh, man. There it is. See, folks, there it is. Last thing here, because, you're talking about getting to districts, and you guys probably class 5, probably similar district and whatnot. How are you setting yourself in motion? You talk about even if what you have in conference play here, you're going to have some tough teams to play. How is that preparing you for that district run and that opportunity to get to that next level?
Yeah. Most times, teams that we run into in our district, we've played at least once in the year. On occasion, that's not the case. So we have a pretty good idea of what that team looks like, just given how they played us or how we played them. But my assistant coach, James L. Key, he's the head softball coach at Parkway North. He's fantastic when it comes to outside of the game preparation. We send a guy to video scout our district opponents. We got at least 4 or 5 games worth of video on all those teams. We have a really good idea of what their arms can do, what makes them effective, the hitters that we need to look out for, the way the defenses, can handle the baseball. And we make sure that not only we as a coaching staff review that film, but we get that in our guys' hands as well. Essentially our final 2 weeks of league play are getting ready for districts, getting things in motion for districts. The emphasis on winning is still there, but the emphasis on being as ready as we can be for district play is more important to us. We've sent JV assistants to scout teams instead of having them help out with their games, just because in our program and in most programs, varsity baseball is where it's at, and we've got to be as successful as we can be as a varsity team. The win-loss record at JV freshmen really doesn't matter, but it does at varsity. So we want to be as prepared as we possibly can, and if we lose, we want to know that we did everything we could to be successful, and we just didn't execute.
Kevin, thoughts? Anything, question, follow up on that?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense, and really like the direction of the program, coach, and what you've done to breathe some life into the program, and you can certainly see it, and it's like I said, it's great for baseball in the area, and excited to watch the program over the next few years.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your coverage of of our school. Like we see you there numerous times, and that means a lot to our staff and the boys for sure.
Love coming out.
There you go. If you see Mr. Mulder, you probably got somebody out there that's doing some damage.
Well, they had in Austin City, they had one of the top games of the year, Maloney versus Rosiska. That's a dream for me. You get two big dogs like that battling. That's an exciting game.
I love it. I love to hear the thought process that you brought to the table there, Coach, with the program, building the program. And I know people hear, oh, the records at JV don't matter. No, they really don't in that respect, because JV doesn't even play, most of them don't play postseason. I know the freshmen here at the GAC, they have a freshman tournament, but there's nothing beyond really for those kids. They play a season there. It's preparation into that varsity level baseball, and building your program is about building those expectations, those kids understanding what's expected of them, how they're going to, what's required once they get to that, and going through that process. And building the program is from that top down, and those kids understanding how they get there. I love that thought process. I think it's a great approach, and I don't know, how many schools take that, but I think it's very good. That's just my 2 cents. Actually, I have raised it to 5 cents because of inflation.
Oh, there you go.
So there's not 2 cents.
That was good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. I appreciate the help, the conference stuff. I'd still love to see the conference things become more of a factor. I don't know if that's something anybody is really interested in other than playing a game, but it's interesting to me. So that's a conversation, I guess, held back for another day. But I'd love to get some of these other coaches, Coach, what is that, Borshirting at Hazelwood West?
Hazelwood West. Yep.
Yeah. Did I pronounce it correctly? Scott,
you did a great job. I'm not sure, but it sounded good to me.
Coach, if I blew it up, I'm sorry. It's Robert Garrett or Bob Garrett out at Ladue, Logan or Scott Winder at Northwest, Rich Sturm, Scott Davis. Guys, who's at Parkway South? Who's the head coach at Parkway South?
Evers, right? I believe it's Ryan Evers.
It's always good to get.
I think last year was his first year.
Yeah, because it was tough finding any of this information. And then out at Seckman, Brad, was it Hagedorn?
Hagedorn. Mm-hmm.
Hagedorn. Okay. So I'm looking forward to seeing all these guys. Looks like some great records if you're playing conference and whatnot. Guys with a lot of great records, a lot of returning seniors. I mean, Northwest is returning 14 kids, man, 23 class. So that ought to be interesting if you play in them. And Oakville's returning 12. You've got 10 returning. So I'd love to see some of these games, as far as conference is concerned, because I think that's going to be, y'all had good records. I think it'll be very interesting that way. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, as Kevin mentioned, in our conference alone, there's a lot of high level Division I players that are in that conference. At Oakville, you got a sophomore, Adam Kilburn, who's committed to Tennessee. Parkway South, Eddie Ahern is a freak. He's so good. He's unassuming. No, I'm serious. He's unassuming, but he's legit on the mound. His ability to spin it and spot it. And now it's mid-upper 80s. He's outstanding. The Kellenbrink kid at LSU. The Seckman's got a treasure trove of talent over there. They're going to be a welcome addition to our conference. So it's going to be fun.
Yep. Going to be a lot of good baseball games. So, and this is what we want to say, folks. There's a lot of great baseball in the St. Louis area, in the state of Missouri. Coach Wiggins, appreciate your time today, man. It was a lot of fun. Enjoyed that conversation.
Yeah, I had a blast. Thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure. Kevin, as always, man, appreciate you dropping the knowledge. Great question. That was good stuff. I could just sit and kind of look. I think I messed it up when I went into the conference stuff, didn't I?
No.
This was a lot of fun. We covered a lot of ground, and
yeah,
one.
I appreciate the thoughtful questions from you, Kevin. I mean, those were I didn't know what to expect coming on here. I love that you asked me those questions. That was fun.
Hey, it took a lot for me to not pull any sucker punches out, being a Kirkwood guy with the Webster coach on,
Yeah.
Brian. But I felt like I was pretty much a gentleman during this whole conversation. We'll save the sucker punches for off air.
There you go. Save them for the Turkey Day football game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't even need to throw any sucker punches on that. We'll be fine either way.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm going to close it out here because it's starting to roll. Oh man, hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. Do appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please hit the subscribe button. Hit that dinger, because that's what we do around here. We hit dingers, and those dingers get you your notifications for upcoming episodes. And if you're unable to watch, make sure you check us out on Spotify, iHeartRadio. Search YBMcast. You can catch the audio podcast, put them in your headbuds as you're working out, whatever, sitting at your desk. We appreciate the support. And again, thanks to these guys, as always, our guru, Kevin Mulder, and Coach Wiggins for coming on today. We do appreciate it. Everybody, have a great day in the Lord. All you pitchers, keep throwing strikes, and hitters, Kevin?
Hit them where they ain't. Oh, shoot.
I love it.
Yes.
Jump in there, Dave.
Yes.
We'll see y'all next time.